Rex Ryan just learned the hard way. You don't come after Shedeur Sanders with false claims. ESPN is facing massive backlash after Rex's comments went viral. And now insiders say the network is punishing him behind the scenes. This story is exploding.
He didn't just pull that thing out of nowhere. Where
Somebody's telling him.
Why aren't you in the front row? Like that is inferring that the kid is not working as hard as he should be. Am I wrong?
Well, that's what it sounds like. And if he's talking to someone in the building, I don't think he would.
How the hell does he know?
I know. So he's got
Rex
connections
Ryan know?
with Coach. You know, what he's saying is more damning than anything I've said, right? Because he apparently has inside knowledge of something that's going on. And I only know what I see. And they still don't judge him better or even at the same level as Dylan.
ESPN is in full damage control mode right now, and Rex Ryan might have just ended his own career with one reckless rant. The former NFL coach went on live television and accused Shedeur Sanders of not studying, not sitting in the front row, and basically being a lazy embarrassment to the league. But here's the problem. He had zero proof, zero evidence, and now the backlash is so brutal that even his own ESPN colleagues are distancing themselves from him. This isn't just about Shedeur anymore. This is about how far the media will go to tear down a young black quarterback who's doing everything right. And what happens when they get caught lying? So buckle up, because what I'm about to show you is going to make you question everything you've been hearing about Shedeur Sanders, and why powerful people in sports media are so desperate to see him fail.
Something's missing with this kid. This kid, Stefanski, is one of an outstanding coach. All right. But why the hell isn't he putting Shedeur Sanders? We're all waiting to see the Shedeur Sanders be the guy or Gabriel, whatever. Something's missing. Something's missing with this kid. This kid talks. He runs his mouth like I could be a starting quarterback with his arms crossed like this. Get your ass in the front row and study and do all that. If I know, the whole league knows. Quit being an embarrassment that way.
So right then and there, Rex Ryan is insinuating. He's insinuating.
All right, look, I'm going to be real with you right now. I am tired. I am exhausted. Every single week, there's a new headline, a new accusation, a new insider source coming out of nowhere, trying to explain why Shedeur Sanders isn't starting for the Cleveland Browns.
But here's my thing. Why should he? Why should he have to sit in the front row? Why come he got to be reprimanded? Cam Ward being reprimanded? We don't know about Cam Ward, because Shedeur damn sure better than Cam Ward. We're not hearing about Jackson Dart sitting in the front row. Why is it him that has to be reprimanded like this? That's my whole thing. If y'all gonna say this, y'all gotta say this for everybody, all the damn rookies. Travis too. So Travis gotta sit in the front row. Austin Gentry gotta sit in the front row. If we're gonna make this argument that all rookies, Dylan gotta sit in the front row, maybe Shedeur want to sit in the second row that day. If we all gonna play it like that, y'all can't do that to him, man. Let's finish listening to what he had to say, then I'm gonna play it over without interrupting it.
You got the talent to be the quarterback. You should be embarrassed that you're not the quarterback now.
Last week, it was the Philadelphia Eagles supposedly saying he turned down their private workout. The week before that,
because who's to say he don't know the playbook? He looked like he knew the playbook well, but he was throwing them darts. We throwing them darts against the Panthers. He looked like he knew the playbook well that game. Real well. So now we gonna create this narrative that he don't know the playbook and all these.
Adam Schefter was on TV talking about some mysterious Ravens situation. And now this? Now we got Rex Ryan on ESPN basically calling Shedeur lazy, unmotivated, and disrespectful? Bro, we have never seen this level of coordinated media attacks on a third-string quarterback. Think about that for a second. This man isn't even QB2 right now, and he's getting more negative press than starting quarterbacks who are actually losing games. Why? What is it about Shedeur Sanders that has these talking heads so pressed, so uncomfortable, so desperate to create narratives that don't even exist? Let me set the scene for you. Rex Ryan goes on ESPN, sitting there with that smug look on his face, and just starts running his mouth. He's talking about how Shedeur isn't sitting in the front row during meetings, how he's got his arms crossed like he thinks he's too good to study, how the whole league knows there's something wrong with this kid. And the way he said it? Man, he said it with so much confidence, like he had insider information, like he was breaking some big exclusive story. But here's where it gets interesting. Tony Rizzo, who's a respected sports talk radio host in Cleveland, heard that clip and immediately started asking questions. He said, Rex didn't just pull that out of nowhere. Someone's telling him something. He's got connections with the coaching staff. And that right there, that's where this whole thing starts to unravel. Because if Rex Ryan really had insider sources in the Browns organization feeding him information about Shedeur not working hard, then why hasn't a single person from the Browns confirmed it? Why hasn't Kevin Stefanski, the head coach, said anything about Shedeur's work ethic? Why hasn't a single teammate, a single assistant coach, a single person who actually works with Shedeur every single day come forward to back up what Rex said? I'll tell you why. Because it's not true. It's a narrative. It's a story that fits the agenda that certain people in sports media want to push. And before you say I'm being too defensive or making this about something it's not, let me walk you through exactly what's been happening. Shedeur Sanders gets drafted by the Cleveland Browns. Historic moment, right? Deion Sanders' son going to the NFL, following in his father's footsteps, carrying the legacy. But from day one, the media couldn't wait to tear him down. They said he wasn't ready for the NFL. They said his stats at Colorado were inflated. They said he couldn't handle pressure. They said he was too Hollywood, too flashy, too confident for his own good. And when none of that stuck, when Shedeur showed up to camp, put his head down, and went to work, when he started showing out in practice, making throws that had coaches turning their heads, that's when the leaks started. Suddenly, sources were saying he turned down workouts with other teams. Insiders were claiming he had attitude problems. Analysts were questioning his commitment to learning the playbook. But let me ask you something. Why aren't we hearing these stories about Cam Ward? Why isn't Rex Ryan on TV talking about whether Cam Ward is sitting in the front row? Why aren't there weekly hit pieces about Jackson Dart's work ethic? Why isn't Dylan Gabriel getting grilled about his preparation habits? I'll tell you why. Because those guys don't have the last name Sanders. They don't have the spotlight. They don't have millions of people watching their every move. And most importantly, they don't represent a threat to the old guard, to the traditional NFL pipeline, to the way things have always been done. Shedeur Sanders represents something different. He's the son of an NFL legend who became a college coaching icon. He's confident, outspoken, and unapologetically himself. He's got a social media presence that rivals starting quarterbacks. He's got endorsement deals, a massive fan base, and a swagger that makes people uncomfortable. And when you combine all of that with elite talent, man, some people in the football world just can't handle it. Now let's get back to Rex Ryan's comments. He said, and I quote, "Get your ass in the front row and study." Like Shedeur is some disrespectful rookie who thinks he's too good to learn. But here's what Rex conveniently left out. When Shedeur got his chance against the Panthers, what happened? He looked good. He looked comfortable. He looked like he knew exactly what he was doing. You don't come in as a third-string quarterback, step into an NFL game with 0 first-team reps, and throw darts all over the field if you don't know the playbook. You don't make the reads he was making. You don't go through your progressions that smoothly. You don't show that kind of poise if you've been sitting in the back row with your arms crossed, not paying attention. So either Rex Ryan is lying, or his sources are feeding him bad information to push a narrative. And honestly, I don't know which one is worse, because if Rex is just making stuff up, going on national television and assassinating a young man's character without any proof, then he should be fired. Period. You can't be an analyst on ESPN's platform and just say whatever you want about players without any accountability. That's not journalism. That's not analysis. That's character assassination. But if Rex's sources are real, if people inside the Browns organization are really leaking false information about Shedeur to the media, then that's even more concerning. Because that means there are people within that building who don't want to see this kid succeed. That means there are people actively working against him, trying to sabotage his reputation before he even gets a real chance to prove himself. And you know what's crazy? Even after all this, Shedeur hasn't said a word. He hasn't fired back on social media. He hasn't done interviews defending himself. He's just showing up to work, putting in the time and letting his play speak for itself. That's the maturity and professionalism of someone who knows their worth, who knows their time is coming, and who refuses to get distracted by the noise. But the media keeps pushing. They keep creating these storylines, these controversies, these reasons why Shedeur shouldn't be starting. And every time one narrative gets debunked, they move on to the next one. It's exhausting. It's transparent. And honestly, it's getting old. Here's the thing that nobody wants to talk about. If Shedeur Sanders was white, if his last name was Smith or Jones, and he had the exact same stats, the exact same college career, the exact same talent, would we be having these conversations? Would Rex Ryan be on TV questioning his work ethic? Would there be weekly reports about attitude problems and playbook issues? I'm not trying to make everything about race, but come on, man. We've seen this movie before. We know how this goes. Young black quarterback comes into the league with confidence and talent, and suddenly there are questions about his intangibles, his character, his commitment to the game. It's the same playbook they used on Cam Newton, the same one they used on Lamar Jackson, the same one they're using now on Shedeur Sanders. And the crazy part? The fans see through it. Go look at the comments under Rex Ryan's video on ESPN's YouTube page. People are dragging him. They're calling out the hypocrisy, the double standards, the obvious agenda. Even Cleveland Browns fans, who should theoretically want their current starters to succeed, are defending Shedeur and calling for him to get more opportunities. Because at the end of the day, real football fans recognize talent. They recognize potential. And they recognize when someone is being unfairly targeted by people who should know better. Now, I'm not sitting here saying Shedeur Sanders is perfect. I'm not saying he should automatically be the starter just because of his name or his college success. But what I am saying is that he deserves to be evaluated fairly, without all these phantom accusations and convenient insider sources trying to poison the well before he even gets a real shot. Give him a fair chance. Let him compete. Let him prove himself on the field where it actually matters. And if he fails, if he shows that he's not ready for the NFL, then cool, we can have that conversation. But don't create fake narratives about work ethic and playbook knowledge just because you're uncomfortable with who he is and what he represents. Rex Ryan owes Shedeur Sanders an apology. ESPN owes him an apology. And everyone who's been participating in this coordinated campaign to tear down a young man who's done nothing but work hard and chase his dreams, y'all should be ashamed of yourselves. Because here's what's really happening. Shedeur Sanders is going to get his chance, whether it's in Cleveland or somewhere else, whether it's this season or next season, his time is coming. And when he finally gets that opportunity, when he steps on that field as a starting quarterback in the NFL, he's going to make every single one of these doubters look foolish. And on that day, I hope Rex Ryan is sitting at home watching, remembering the time he went on national television and tried to destroy a young man's reputation with nothing but speculation and rumors. I hope he feels embarrassed. I hope he feels ashamed, because that's exactly what he should feel after what he did. This isn't just about football anymore. This is about integrity. This is about accountability. This is about whether we're going to let media personalities say whatever they want about young athletes without any consequences. And I, for one, am tired of sitting back and watching it happen. Shedeur Sanders doesn't need me to defend him. His talent will do that. His work ethic will do that. His results will do that. But until then, until he gets that opportunity to silence all the critics once and for all, we need to keep calling out this nonsense for what it is. So let me know in the comments right now. Do you think Rex Ryan was completely out of line? Or do you think there's some truth to what he said? Do you believe these insider sources? Or do you think this is all just manufactured drama to get clicks and views? Drop your thoughts below because I want to hear what y'all think about this whole situation. Now, let's talk about the bigger picture here, because this Rex Ryan situation is just one piece of a much larger puzzle. And if you've been paying attention to how the media has been covering Shedeur Sanders since he got drafted, you'll start to see a pattern that's honestly disturbing. Every single week, there's a new story. Every single week, there's a new concern. Every single week, someone with a platform and a microphone decides to take a shot at this kid. And what's crazy is that none of these stories ever have any real substance. They're always vague, always based on unnamed sources, always just convenient enough to keep the negative narrative alive. Think about it. When was the last time you saw a third-string quarterback generate this much controversy? When was the last time media members spent this much time analyzing and criticizing someone who hasn't even been given a legitimate chance to start? It's unprecedented. It's bizarre. And it's absolutely intentional. Because here's the truth that nobody in mainstream sports media wants to admit. Shedeur Sanders scares them. Not because he's untalented or unprepared, but because he represents a shift in how modern athletes carry themselves. He's not the quiet, humble rookie who keeps his head down and doesn't make waves. He's not the guy who's going to let coaches and executives control his narrative. He's his own man, with his own brand, his own voice, and his own vision for what his career should look like. And in the old-school NFL, that's a problem. The league has always been built on conformity, on rookies knowing their place, on young players earning their stripes by doing things the right way. But Shedeur didn't come into this league looking to conform. He came in ready to compete, ready to lead, and ready to do things his way. And that makes people uncomfortable. So what do? They create narratives. They plant stories. They whisper to their media friends about concerns and red flags that don't actually exist. And before you know it, you've got Rex Ryan on ESPN talking about how Shedeur isn't sitting in the front row, even though Rex hasn't been in an NFL building in years and has zero actual knowledge of what's happening in Cleveland's facility. But here's where this gets really interesting. After Rex made those comments, the backlash was immediate and brutal. Social media absolutely destroyed him. Former players called him out. Analysts questioned his credibility. Even some of his own ESPN colleagues seemed uncomfortable with what he said. And you know what Rex did? Nothing, no apology, no clarification, no walking back his comments. Just silence, and that tells you everything you need to know. If Rex really had solid sources, if he really knew something concrete about Shedeur's preparation habits, he would have doubled down. He would have provided more details. He would have defended his position. But he didn't, because he can't. Because he was talking out of his ass, hoping that his reputation as a former head coach would give his words weight, even without any actual evidence to back them up. Now, let's address something that keeps coming up in these discussions. People keep saying, well, if Shedeur was really that good, he'd be starting by now. And on the surface, that sounds logical. But it completely ignores the reality of how NFL quarterback situations work, especially for rookies on teams with established starters. Kevin Stefanski, Cleveland's head coach, has built his entire offensive system around a certain style of play. He's invested years in developing relationships with his quarterbacks, installing his schemes, creating his culture. You don't just throw that all away to start a rookie, no matter how talented, unless you absolutely have to. That's not how NFL coaching works, especially when you're a coach fighting to keep your job. So Shedeur is sitting, waiting for his opportunity, just like countless other talented quarterbacks have done before him. Patrick Mahomes sat behind Alex Smith. Aaron Rodgers sat behind Brett Favre. Jordan Love sat behind Aaron Rodgers. This isn't unusual. This isn't concerning. This is literally how quarterback development works in the NFL. But the difference is, none of those guys had to deal with weekly character assassinations while they waited. None of them had former coaches going on national television questioning their work ethic without any proof. None of them had to navigate this kind of hostile media environment before they ever got a real chance to play. And you know what the craziest part is? When Shedeur finally does get his shot, when he proves all the doubters wrong and shows what he can really do, these same media members who've been tearing him down are going to pretend like they always believed in him. They're going to act like they never questioned him. They're going to rewrite history and claim they saw his potential all along. That's how this game works. That's how the media operates. And that's why it's so important to call this stuff out in real time, while it's happening, so there's a record of who said what and when. Let me tell you something else that bothers me about all this. The timing. Have you noticed that these negative Shedeur stories always seem to drop right when the Browns are struggling? Right when questions are being asked about the current quarterback situation? It's almost like someone in that organization is trying to preemptively kill any momentum for a quarterback change by poisoning the well against Shedeur before fans and media can seriously advocate for him to start. It's strategic, it's calculated, and it's dirty as hell, because instead of the conversation being, hey, maybe we should see what Shedeur can do, it becomes, well, we heard he's not even studying the playbook, so why would we start him? See how that works? See how planting these seeds of doubt, even without evidence, can control the narrative and kill a young player's opportunity before it even begins? This is the game within the game that fans don't always see. This is the political, behind-the-scenes manipulation that can make or break a young player's career. And Shedeur is right in the middle of it, trying to navigate a minefield that most rookies never have to deal with. But here's the thing about Shedeur Sanders. He was built for this. Growing up as Deion's son, he's been in the spotlight his entire life. He's been dealing with criticism, pressure, and impossible expectations since he was a kid. He knows what it's like to have people doubt him, to have people want him to fail, to have people create narratives about who he is without actually knowing him. And every single time, he's proven them wrong. He did it in high school. He did it at Jackson State. He did it at Colorado. And he's going to do it in the NFL. Before we wrap this up, I want to hear from you. Do you think ESPN needs to hold Rex Ryan accountable for what he said? Should there be consequences when analysts make accusations without proof? And do you think Shedeur will get a fair shot in Cleveland? Or is it time for him to start thinking about his future elsewhere? Drop your comments below, because this conversation is far from over. The reality is, Shedeur's story is still being written. We're only in the first chapter. But if history has taught us anything, it's that talented players find a way. The cream rises to the top, and all these attempts to derail him, to question him, to tear him down before he even gets started, they're going to look foolish in hindsight. Rex Ryan made a mistake. He let his ego, his need to be relevant, his desire to create a hot take override his integrity as an analyst. And now he's going to have to live with that. Because when Shedeur Sanders succeeds, when he becomes the star that everyone who actually watches him play knows he can be, this clip of Rex questioning his work ethic is going to age like milk. It's going to be played over and over again as an example of how wrong the so-called experts can be. And maybe, just maybe, it'll make the next analyst think twice before they decide to trash a young player's character without any evidence. Maybe it'll make ESPN think twice about giving their platform to people who abuse it. Maybe it'll create just a little bit more accountability in sports media, but probably not. Because this is the same cycle we see over and over again. The same narratives, the same double standards, the same treatment of young black quarterbacks who dare to be confident and talented at the same time. So, what can we do? We can support Shedeur. We can call out the BS when we see it. We can demand better from the media members who shape these narratives. And we can make sure that when Shedeur's moment finally comes, we're all there to witness it and remind everyone of what they said about him before he got his chance. Real quick before you go, are you Team Shedeur, or do you think the critics have valid points? And who's the next young quarterback you think media is going to target with fake narratives? Let me know in the comments, because I love hearing different perspectives on this. Look, at the end of the day, this Rex Ryan situation is bigger than just one bad take on ESPN. It's a symptom of a larger problem in how we talk about young athletes, especially young black quarterbacks who don't fit the traditional mold. Shedeur Sanders deserves better. He deserves to be evaluated on his play, on his preparation, on the things that actually matter, not on fabricated stories from analysts with agendas. Rex Ryan crossed a line. ESPN needs to address it, and we as fans need to keep holding these people accountable when they step out of line. Because if we don't, this cycle will just continue, and the next talented young quarterback will have to deal with the same garbage that Shedeur is dealing with right now. Shedeur's time is coming, and when it does, remember who had his back and who tried to tear him down. Remember who told the truth and who spread lies. Because in this game, your word is everything. And Rex Ryan just showed us exactly what his word is worth. If you made it this far, I appreciate you rocking with me on this one. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, because we're going to keep covering Shedeur's journey and calling out the BS whenever we see it. Drop a like if you agree that Rex was completely out of line. And I'll catch you in the next one. Peace. Peace.